Sacrifice. Sacrifice is said everywhere, but what are you sacrificing for? No matter what you do, you're sacrificing something. In order to get this, you're sacrificing something else in order to acquire that. Now, if it's a better situation that you're sacrificing for, well, then it makes sense, right? It's easy to sacrifice for the lesser situation that you're in. But I think sacrifice also involves looking at long term goals and short term goals. Sacrificing long term goals for the quick fix, the quick pleasure today, down the road and over a long enough period of time, will be a life of gluttony, a lack of discipline, and a lack of self worth and respect. And I think that's something that, we always want the instant gratification, that quick fix, and we look at that as more in the moment, more valuable than looking at ahead at what could be if we sacrifice today, what we could be getting tomorrow and in the future. And I think a lot of that comes down to your discipline and also your maturity. I think as you mature, go through life a little bit, and you start to see how the real world is. The people that sacrifice early on in life tend to have a better life longer term. The people that have fun, they party, you know, they have their fun when they're young, usually pay for it on the back end. They never retire, they die working, they never really get out of poverty, and a lot of times they're usually not in the best shape either because it takes too much work and they just don't have the drive to do that. But I think changing your mentality and the way you think about things would really help in getting you to that next step. And I think that when you look at your long term goals, the cost is your short term goals. But the long term goals are also going to make you feel better than the short term goal. Here's how I look at it: things that are hard to acquire also respect builders or admirable, right? People admire you and your accomplishments because they're long-term goals that a lot of people wish they could have. They envy that. So it's admirable. They also inspire. It's very inspiring when you see a very good physique, or the classic rags to riches story, the guy that was homeless and living on the street, living off rations, and becomes a multi-billionaire, right? We always like the underdog in those stories, but you also respect when they get themselves out of that because they were able to stick to their long-term goals even in a desolate situation like being homeless and borderline starving. And that's something that in the moment is really not good, right? Obviously for the person involved, that's a lot of struggle, that's a lot of hardship, but yet when they come out the other side, they have way more respect than the multi-billionaire that had really rich parents that never really worked for it. And I think that's another thing that we're starting to see people really, noticing in society. And I think that when you are that person, people do treat you differently, and the way you look at the world is very different. You're a cold motherfucker when you have to go through that hardship when you're younger. It's gonna make you a better overall person and a successful person in the future. So like I said, guys, don't sacrifice your long-term goals in the future for bullshit today. It never pays off. And the second you're done with that instant gratification, you think to yourself, God damn, why did I do that? And then you feel guilt and you lose respect for yourself and your mindset gets all fucked up because you just cannot stick to your goal. Just take every day and try to win that day. Win today, win tomorrow, win Thursday, win Friday, win Saturday, win Sunday, and just win every day of the week. And you build up enough of those wins, and maybe there's no ring at the end, or a Super Bowl, or a Vince Lombardi trophy, or a Stanley Cup, or whatever, but you're going to have that championship ring in here, which is probably more important than the actual ring itself. You're going to have the idea in your mind and the idea in your heart. You know that you can accomplish things. And when you face adversity, I've been here before. I faced adversity before. I know I could deal with it again. And I know I can come out on the other side better than where I'm at right now in the beginning of that adversity. And it makes life a lot easier when you face those adverse situations. You're less stressed. You're less worried about those adverse situations because you've been there before and you've been able to handle them and move through and forward, even despite the odds being maybe against you. Like I said, guys, stick to your long-term goals. That should be the goal every single day. Because at the end of the day, even when you get to the top of the mountain, you're going to look for another mountain to climb. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the grind of the long-term goals, because the long-term goals are what's going to make you successful.